Bubba built it.
Hey everybody, Lee and Michael here.
Hey guys.
Been a little bit since we've talked about Translammed, and we thought we'd take a moment and show you what all we've accomplished in the interim.
Yeah, so when we left off, we were cutting up the fiberglass front end and using the pieces for that to start on this wide body fender set. Well, we got all that done, we got them mounted, and it turned out really well. So to make this thing flare, and it's a dramatic flare down here, you can see here from this angle just how much we flared it out. To make it work, what we did was we cut aluminum brackets, and you can see here we pop riveted those to the fender. So I've got an aluminum bracket here that stands it off. I've got an aluminum bracket here that stands it off the fender, and then we ran an aluminum bracket all the way across here because we're going to pop rivet this. The pop rivets need to go straight down. They need to go straight down into that fender, and so for us to get that straight down angle, we had to have an extra aluminum bracket here. So as you can see in the photo that's going to pop up here, you can see where we had all that bracketry, but the end result is pretty fantastic. Again, with this type of thing, you just never know how it's going to turn out until you do it, and we're just really pleased with the way this fiberglass front end, cutting it up, how it all mounted together to get that wide body appearance. And as you can see here, this whole thing is about controlling aerodynamic, controlling the airflow around the vehicle. So you can see we got an outlet here, which is going to pull heat out of the engine compartment. But then down here, we've got a full aero transition between the wheel well and coming out here to the rocker. And then we built these extractor louvers. The Trans Am, it had an extraction. It was not really a real functional thing, but it had an extractor here. And we thought about doing something with that. Oh, we got to do something there because it's Trans Am. But no, we figured, a big functional extractor down here would be a good facsimile of this, but still have a real functional use. And that brings me to the rockers. So to make all this work, we had to build a framework to come off of the Corvette, the C5 Corvette frame to catch this. So this is how we're going to trim out between the rocker and around these extractor vents. We got this composite aluminum material that we bent around here, and see, this is just a filler piece of cardboard from one of our Holly fuel line kits that we had, but this gives you an idea of how this is going to fill in. And then back here on the back, instead of an extractor vent, we have a louver that will pull in the air to cool the brakes. And again, if you remember, the Z06 already had a thing here, so the frame already had kind of a smooth transition here. And so what we did, we cut the body of the Trans Am and just bent it in to meet that smooth transition. So we have a nice airflow transition here to cool the brakes.
And then one of the questions that you always run into when you're doing a build like this is, how are you going to put the gas in the vehicle? And so Michael said, hey, why don't we get a gas bezel and cap off of a Hummer? And so that's what we did. We bought a setup from an H2.
Okay, so actually the cap itself is an H2 cap, and also ironically it was also used on the Aztec. But this bezel is not from the Hummer. This is a really nice little piece. This is a bezel from a Yj Wrangler.
That's right.
Jeep Wrangler, and it's kind of offset. And we actually used one on the Scraptona on the trunk lid of that. So we had to modify it a lot. And this is just sitting here now. You can see where we cut a notch here and heated it up and bent it so it's going to fit the profile of that. But look at that gnarly hole there, and this beautiful bezel goes right in there. We're going to pop rivet that in place, and it just totally covers that. So, a lot of great solutions that you can find at your junkyard. And that brings me to these back fenders. Now, I think last time we had the video, we talked about these fenders, but so the way
we just had them mocked up, just
yeah,
taped in place.
So over here in the front, this will give you some idea of exactly what we did here. This fender right here would have gone straight up and kept going because it was the same as this. This is, so you see that. Now it worked out really well. It worked out even better than we had expected, except there's one little problem that we ran into. When we were doing it, all this fell right into place, and all this already was basically in place. But this part right here, where we had this weird transition, it kind of had a hump to it. And we were thinking, well, we'll just pop rivet it down and it'll pull it on into place. And it may have done the trick, but we decided, let's get us a little cheap English wheel and just see if we can figure out a way to, because I kept thinking, if we could just get this thing to have a linear, a smooth it out linearly, because the way I'd got this thing to work is we'd taken a hammer and dolly and just kind of, and there were a bunch of little, you know, and it had a little peak here in the middle, and this wasn't exactly the way we're working. I was thinking, man, if we just had something we could sandwich between it and get it all smoothed out. And I was like, you know, that's exactly what an English wheel does. Now, we didn't want to, we're not really that savvy with this stuff, so we didn't want to go out and spend $1,500 on a good one. But we did just get one of those cheap ones, because I thought it's a small project. There's not a whole lot we have to do. So we got on online and bought a little cheap English wheel from HomeDepot.com, and it was 140 bucks shipped. And it smoothed out this transition. Now this thing just lays right down. Now, any of you guys are good with an English wheel, don't start throwing stones or sending messages saying how dumb this whole thing looks, because I know that there are some waves still to this, but it is so much light years further ahead of what it was. I'm very pleased with it. And again, with our projects, it's all about something you can just drive and just beat on. And as long as it falls into place and is there, if it's got some imperfections, that just adds to the wonder
To the story.
Exactly. So we're really pleased with how that turned out.
All right, talk about the splitter.
Okay, so as many of you know, a lower rear diffuser, if it's designed correctly, will do the exact same thing that a giant wing will do up on the top. And so we decided, instead of messing with the beautiful lines, because man, the way the waterfall, way this falls off, and then the duck lip spoiler that they made from the factory just looks so cool. We thought, let's not mess that up. And so we decided, let's just do a big diffuser underneath. Now, what you're seeing here is just skeletonized. So it is not. When we're done with it, we're going to have a piece of strip across here to nail it all together, and then we're going to have it. We're going to use that aluminum composite material, and that's going to have some blades, some downward blades, and then we're also going to have some end pieces here that we're going to fabricate to kind of complete visually the edge of the rocker here. I mean the rocker, but the quarter here. But anyway, that's so this thing right here though is going to be a very functional piece, and then right here in the middle, we're going to build a big rectangular boom tube muffler to come right off the back. So the only muffler the whole thing will have on the whole exhaust system will be a big rectangular boom tube that we're going to fabricate. And I'm excited about how we're going to do that. We'll show you that in an upcoming video. But all this is adjustable. All this it rotates off of brackets that we bolted to the lower control, to the sway bar mount, the lower sway bar mount. And it's just, I was just super pleased with how all this turned out. And you know, we didn't make it out of super lightweight aluminum. It's made out of fairly rudimentary square tube and
Flat bar.
But I love taking rudimentary materials and seeing just how far you can take it.
Yeah, and we've kind of learned some lessons about making things out of spindly, less than substantial materials. It bends and a little less forgiving.
Yeah.
So.
Now speaking again of the deck lid and how just nicely all this falls together, what we actually end up with here when we widen it out is have this extra gap. So you can see this right here. So this is just to kind of keep it all together to give us our visual cues. But we're actually going to have a tunnel here of an air extractor to let air out, and then these brackets will come in here and we'll pop rivet this in, and so all that will be finished off. And so that's going to basically be how that's going to come together. So you can see right down through there, that tunnel there. So that's how all that's going to. And so we're going to have just a little gap here, that's going to be our difference in our width. And then I'm going to have to, we bought a couple extras of these, and we're going to cut them up and fiberglass them together to make that wider, to make that spoiler just continue on around. Now over here, you can kind of see where this was started out. So this is the kind of steel framework that we welded onto the C5 frame to catch all that. And here, this will give you another. Now this is also, you know, it's funny when you're working on a project like this. Wow, a swing door on a hinge is such an amazing thing, right? If you don't have it, it is, and it's a very difficult thing to do. So this is another one of those we feel like triumphs of the build, is to get the doors where they open and close correctly. But look down here, as you can see the framework that we've welded across here to catch that rocker. But over here in the doors, this is really cool. So one of the big problems with this build was the fact that the upright frame door pillars here from the C5 were a little too wide for us to retain the old door hinges on the Trans Am body. So we had to re-engineer the hinges, which we were not excited about. We really were hoping that this whole thing would just drop over and the hinge plates would still be there. But you know, again, with hot rods, everything can't be easy. Matter of fact, most things aren't, right? So we knew that we're going to have to re-engineer the hinges. And there's some really cool products out there for like drag cars, where you got these pins where the thing will just drop right in. What we were looking at is like, why reinvent the wheel when we've got a beautiful perpendicular flat hinge plate here that the C5 Corvette had already. And the only problem was the hinges were about 4 inches too far back on the door. So what we had to do was cut the front of the door here. This door would have come out a little further, like basically you see my finger down here tracing. This door would have come out another 3 inches to here, and that's where the hinge plate would have been, right here. And of course that wasn't going to work. So we had to cut this back, put a new plate in here. And as you can see right here, this is a steel framework. So we've got a steel plate here and a steel plate here and the steel framework between. So it's a very solid setup, and these are fiberglass doors. But because these hinges were totally square on a flat plane, it made it very easy to make a flat plane on the front of the door, use the flat plane that's already on the frame, and everything just works beautifully. So
now, the good thing is we didn't have to change the length of the door, right?
Right. No, Lee, as you can see here, there's been some heavy massaging on this door. Again, one of the magic tricks of this build was to take that Trans Am body and put it on the C5 Corvette. You had a 4.5 to 4 3/4 inch wheelbase difference, and I say 4.5 to 4 3/4 because it's a fairly fluid thing. You got a lot of pieces here that come together. When we cut this thing apart right here, and we remade the T-tops, which again is another, I feel like a triumph of this build. These are acrylic T-tops now. We reused the original frames and shortened it, and everything works with the lever and everything just like it used to. So we had to shorten the T-tops and we had to shorten the doors. So the reason we decided to do that is if you look at this, the way this thing flows, here we go, over our A-pillar, right? And boom, it is just a beautiful transition. And when we were looking at this car, we were thinking, again, we got to be very careful when we start playing with wheelbase when on a body swap, because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have something that looks dumb when you're done with it. So we had some ideas before where we were talking about using a Nova and cutting the quarter windows down, kind of like they did on an AMX and all that. And we decided to go with a Trans Am. We were looking at it one day and it's like, man, from the side view, the doors are so crazy, stupid long that really that's where we should take it out. And in the front edge of this T-top, in this opening here, there's a fairly good amount of straight area. And really it's all about rear seat access for that Trans Am. So we cut this out of the straight part, was the front part here, and we cut the front edge off the aluminum of the T-tops, and that all went together. And then the same thing with the doors. There's a lot of door here, and we've cut them down 4.5 inches, and you really can't tell. You can tell here because you see the bodywork and all that. But once this thing comes together, you're gonna look at it. You're like, well, where did it go? Where does that extra 4.5 inches go? And we feel like we really captured that. But once again, man, open and shutting doors. Woo, triumph. Now the door latch is a whole different. I don't know if we get to that.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, that's coming. So.
All right. So the next thing we've got to do is start mounting this front section, finish mounting this and tidying that up. Oh, no, we ain't even talked about this.
We didn't, did we? Yeah, okay.
No.
So, we had the rear diffuser, and that's coming together really well. But the front splitter, we actually had designed this piece, this ABS plastic piece here, to go on a C5 Corvette. And we had several of these laying around with our development that we had done, and of course it's going to need a frame. So you'll see in the photo where we built the frame for this thing, and the C5 Corvette has these 2 outriggers that come down off the frame to catch the front of the car in case you hit something. And so you can see those in there. And so that's a perfect mounting position for these things. So we built a square tube frame for the splitter, and it all bolts up, pop riveted together. And the other thing, when you're doing something like a splitter, you really want to make sure you control, again, the airflow. And so if you look in here, all this right here is designed to use that original factory plastic piece here. We made an aluminum lip to come up and catch all the air that comes in the front here. And it's going to take it right into that radiator. So it's a really good functional piece.
Yeah, and it should breathe a whole lot better than the original C5.
Yeah, because we got a lot more room and a lot more scoop there.
Yes.
Catching that air. And we're going to use the original. We're going to go ahead and use the original plastic piece here, but we're going to take and cut it way up here because the original plastic piece came all the way down almost to here.
Yeah.
So it was like a like one of those bottom feeder tank algae eating fish is the way it kind of was designed. But we're actually going to give it another 5 or 6 inches of vertical area to gobble up air. So it's going to be even better than it was. But we'll reuse that original piece there. So as Lee was saying, the next thing we need to do, we've got the fender where we've got this piece here. It's going to secure the top of the fender. We got the original mount back there, but we really need to catch the bottoms of these fenders here. And so we're going to take some flat bar and go ahead and cut it and bend it for that bottom bracket for these front fenders. And the fenders will be pretty much ready to bolt on at that point. Another thing, Lee, Lee and I were looking at when we put this together. So this is the original cowl here of the Trans Am, and this is the original piece of the Corvette. Now it's been trimmed way back. There's a lot of trimming that's been done on this, but we also fabricated all this aluminum here to sort of make it all become one. So, and that's, you might wonder what this this nifty little scoop out here is. Well, the folks at Holley make this awesome private ham intake. The only problem, if any of you guys with a 4th gen Trans Am or Camaro ever tried to put one of these in your car, you know that you're going to have a clearance issue with your firewall probably, especially with the top of it. Again, for us it worked out great when we fabricated that and made that so this whole thing fits right into place.
We'll go ahead and grab this.
Yeah. Let's put the icing on the cake, right?
There you go. Since I've got a hold of that.
Yeah. So, yeah, and the high ram is doing a great job of giving the engine a lot more breathing capability.
And it just looks cool.
It's just awesome looking, right? Now, look, before you guys start throwing hate mail and saying, why do you got that big high ram when you got the cast iron manifolds? Don't worry, we got a solution for that too. We just, we'll talk about that in another video. But the airflow in the engine, the airflow aerodynamically around the car, we're really putting a lot of thought into that. What we're not going to put a lot of thought and work into is to make it so pretty that you don't want to, let your belt buckle scrape against it. We don't want cars like that. They're not fun to own because they own you instead of you owning them. This thing's got to be something that is functional, is everyday driver material.
Has air conditioning.
Yeah, even air conditioning.
And a heads-up display.
Yep, heads-up display, 500 horsepower, and about 500 pounds lighter than the C5 Corvette was. So it's ought to be a really good recipe for an amazing street machine. So, Lee, I guess we need to get on the cutting the strap steel down.
Yeah. Let's go over here and use the Piranha.
Oh yeah, this is an awesome machine here.
The Piranha. I like saying that. Iron worker. 13 inches.
13 inches.
You got a tape measure? Actually using a tape measure.
Yeah, well, it needs to be the same.
I don't know if I can sign off on that though.
What, that I'm using it or that it'll be the same?
No, that you pulled 13 and then you went 26. I mean, we'll just see.
What?
We'll see. It's okay.
Haters gotta hate.
Haters gotta hate. I don't know if that classifies it. Here, I'll run it. You line it up. I'll squish it.
A little teamwork.
Say when.
The big one. Okay, yeah, go ahead. It's like butter. Now. Alright, so Lee's hating on my throwing the 26. Go ahead, let's see what we got.
You clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Wrong way.
Now, are they going to be perfect? No, but they're going to be close.
We want them to be perfect.
Okay. All right, I'm pretty proud of this.
Oh no! Look at that.
I think
Look
it's
at
fine
that.
for a bracket on a
Oh
fender.
my goodness! It is not perfect.
That is less than a 16th off.
A 16th is a mile.
Not for a fender bracket.
Oh, we need to move our
Oh yeah, we talked about
our economy English wheel.
Yeah, this thing, I gotta say, I am super impressed with it. Now this thing, the reviews online got a ton of hate. And maybe it's just because I'm a rube that doesn't really know how to operate this piece of equipment, but I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the capability of this little thing. So if you've never had one, I highly recommend you buy this $130 one and just play with it and see. One of the things that they really complained about was this bottom wheel had some slack in it. Well, that's easily fixed. Just take a little piece of scrap aluminum and just drive it down in there. And now it's tight as a drum. And they complained about online about this right here. But again, I found it to be a very effective little piece of equipment. And it did exactly what I wanted to do, smoothing out all those little bumps and that peak that I had from bending that over. So
Right. So what's the next price option on those things? It's
Okay.
like
the next price option at our favorite cheap tool store, which they used to have something like this, and I think they've lost their way because they're less and less. They're having things like this. They have a $350 one that, by the way, the 20% coupon does not work on. And then the next step from that is basically a $1,200 or $1,500 one that I think is a kit that you have to weld together, which, you know, we could do that, but we just don't do enough of it to spend that kind of money on one. I would love to have one like that, but
there's no reason to.
you just
You
can't
can't
have
justify the expense of
you
it.
can't have every tool. I mean,
No.
it'd be nice if you could, but you can't have every tool. But anyway, this thing, as you can see, it just goes right in the vise
Yeah,
here.
we're gonna mount it to a table
Yeah, we will. But just for right
at
now.
some point.
I got it. It's gonna be fun. Watch me drop this thing.
Here.
There we go. I mean, to my thinking, even the dies by themselves are worth the price of Envision. So.
All right, you got to measure, right?
Yeah, I'll measure it. I was just gonna use the other one as a template, but
No. Let's use a measuring tape.
okay. Yes, sir. 1 3/4.
Man, that edge of
Measure
that
seems
table looks
better, dude.
great.
Yeah. Oh, it's not tight on the table. That's what's moving. Looks like 45.
Ish. Maybe a little too far.
Yeah, let's straighten it too. Put a little bit of a banana in it. Well, guess that'll be all right.
And then just we'll put that slight. Well,
We're not need it.
may
Oh,
not.
I'll do it. All right.
Throw some paint on these guys. Yeah, so you know how they shot Dunkirk in all one continuous shot?
Yeah, that's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
One continuous shot.
Yeah, I think we've got a real good shot at the YouTube awards.
I think so too.
I'll go ahead and start preparing my acceptance speech.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. All right, let's see here. I think this. That's what I need to do is probably bend it.
I mean, this camera work alone is awesome.
It's amazing. I think I have to bend that 90 degrees, don't you? I don't think it's going to want to go. It's not going to go like that. So, all right. Let's bend this 90 degrees. I had it. It was like that. Okay. I'm going to bend that down.
Yeah. Love the precision. That's so precise.
Shut up. All right, hold on.
Wait a minute. What you actually wanted to bend did not bend.
No, hold on. I didn't. This is what I want to do. I need to just do this right here. Use the vise to do it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that'll work.
All right.
That dog will hunt. Set these down. Oh, yeah.
Let's see. I'd like to thank the fine folks at YouTube.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank my peers.
Yeah.
My business partner. I'd like to thank my dad.
Yeah, that's a good one. Now, you gotta make a political statement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, Holly performance parts are the best.
That's not political.
It's not political?
No.
Oh, you're talking about those politics.
Yeah, you need to say something
I'm
like
kind of
that.
tired of all that.
You need to say something like communism is awesome.
Communism is awesome?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Can you have cars like this in communist regimes?
I like to think Stalin would be ripping around in something like this, yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Would Stalin dig this? Well, wait a minute. Could everybody else have it? I mean, Stalin could obviously have this, but could everybody else have it too?
Of course not.
Okay.
If only Stalin had the huge cojones to ride it around.
I mean, Kim Jong-un, he would love this car.
Oh yeah, he would. He could take
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman around in it.
Yeah.
And show the latest peasant massacre.
Yeah.
And here is where I took the peasants in. Well,
No, that's actually terrible. It's really bad.
yeah, what is it, gay British man?
Hey, so I was watching the Last Dance, this documentary on the Bulls, and, well, Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah, that was number 4 in the country just the other day.
Yeah. And I was watching, they had shots of Michael Jordan driving around, and you know what he's driving?
What?
Corvette, man. So whenever he first got going with the Bulls, he's riding around in a C4 Vette.
C4 Corvette.
Yeah, and then in '97 he's got it wasn't a Z06
They
even.
didn't have those then.
Yeah. So,
Just
but
a
he's
regular
got the
C5.
C5 Vette and he's pulling up in it. Oh. I thought that was pretty interesting.
It is. That's cool.
And did you lose the socket?
I did.
How did it get back there?
It didn't. I just saw some other loose bolts in here. Sheesh. Those are exhaust bolts. That's what they are.
Oh.
Now I'm going to lose a wrench. I'm going to ratchet. All right, forget this.
Oh, you did it. You lost it.
Shut up. All right, forget that. Let's just have to stay there.
Yeah, we'll get them off whenever we change out the exhaust. Oh, it's so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I agree. I like it.
I'm loving it. Okay, so we have our brackets made for the fender.
And a wonder of engineering they are.
Yes,
they're amazing.
They're quite beautiful. We had to engineer the horn bracket there, as you saw, and it's mounted nicely.
And 2 birds with 1 stone.
Love our fender washer.
And we did notice that there's a little bit of flex here. so we're going to put a gusset here of some sort. We were talking about what to do. We got some ideas. We'll do it next time.
Yep.
So you can see a little bit of flex right there. Just because that's a little bit weak.
Yep. All right, man. Well, we thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And please leave some comments. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. I guess that's
Don't tell us what you don't like.
Yeah, don't tell us what you don't like.
We don't care.
No, we really don't care. So see you guys later.